state police to have the dogs go through the high schools. And my wife is the school resource officer for Claremont, and I hear horror stories of the things that are found. I mean, kids that take off when they know their bag's going to get searched. So there are kids in the schools that are dealing inside the schools, and they do the very best they can to make sure that that's not happening as well.
I would agree. I think that's probably the teenage kids who know older and younger people is the concern. I think we've had one 15-year-old kid this year that came to school high, and we dealt with that as well as a police issue and a school issue. So it happens, and I think that once you're getting into your teens, don't forget you get into your teens and you're still. Your group is still the people in town, and then what happens? You get a driver's license. So now you're not just staying in Sunapee, you're now starting to go further out and meet other people from other contacts and stuff. So your group of friends and your social group becomes bigger and bigger. So now you've got to worry about those influences as well. And I think a lot of the influences that the kids run into out there, whether they go to the movies with other friends in another community, hey, I know this guy is a friend of mine. Those are all different contacts that the kids will have once they get their licenses. That really opens up their peer pressure and contacts and that kind of stuff.
I think a couple positive things. I'll share a couple numbers. So a couple positives are, for the 144 students, the percentage who ever used heroin in Sunapee, 0.
Yes.
The percentage who ever used methamphetamines, 0. The percentage who ever used ecstasy, 0. So you've got, even of the 144, and again, they're admitting to other behaviors.
Yes.
So there's 0%, and I kind of go that rules following a bit. And even if you look at the vaping, if you look into the numbers quite a bit, the huge percentage are our seniors, where it's legal. And I'm not saying it should. So it's interesting to look at that. What worries me again about the vaping and the ones we've found this year, and we have found a couple this year, is again our kids don't want to do many bad things for the most part. But when I'm asked them, do you know what's in there? That's the part that worries me. So I'm very confident that our kids can go, hey, this is heroin. That would be a good idea. Right now, our high school kids aren't going to be doing that. But at the same time, they're vaping products. Are you sure there was no drugs in there? They don't know. They were like, my friend gave me this, and I think that's why that concern is so strong. Is just what can be in there. And again, so we know that vaping percentages are high. Again, they're high on the seniors. But I can tell you, when I found underclassmen, they had no idea. They didn't think there was anything in it, but I think that's why that becomes a concern on that. But there's some positives as well. Those hard drugs, we're really not seeing the exposure to that.
And I think off of what Mr. Moynihan said, if you look at this whole survey that was done, my observations are the questions and the categories are at the same as last year or less than. So there was no category that just went through the roof. There was none that kind of edged its way up. We're either at or below what we were for the last survey in 2015, which is another positive.
Except vaping.
Except vaping.
Except vaping. Yeah.
But I don't know that vaping was on the last one.
It was.
Was it on there?
Yeah.
But I think that's all stuff that's new. But I think as we look at that stuff, the heroin, the drugs and stuff, and I don't think we could say that for the 2015 one. I think we had some that admitted to the use of heroin and cocaine, I think.
With a small number.
Right.
I think.
So I think
but those numbers really have always been pretty, which is good.
Right.
Those have been pretty minimal. But again, it's the thing that worries me the most right now is people ingesting things that they don't know. That's a concern.
Is there a test for the contents of these? I mean, if you confiscate one and can you identify what's in there, or you
So the one the one I caught this year was cotton candy, and I did a lot of research. I'm like, I didn't know what I had at first. I'm doing all the things, and it was pretty consistent with what they're having. There were not drugs in that. If I have the police and I work really well. There was we're looking the one time we did have hard drugs was 10 or 11 years ago, and I remember right off the bat, the first thing I did is I sent it right to the police, and I said, I have a suspicion here, but I don't know what that is, what this would be. But in this one, it turned out to be, it was nicotine. That's where they're referencing that for the most part. They are doing that. Maybe it's a little pie in the sky. I really do think they're using it for the nicotine, which is bad enough. But again, they didn't know, and that's the one that's concerning for me.
You know, for some other.
Yeah, no, and again, the worry for me more is, you know, I don't wanna say I'd rather have this, but if a student's ordering it online and it's a nicotine, it's not good, but they know they're getting nicotine as opposed to, Johnny gave it to me and told me was nothing in it, and I don't think anything's in it, and that's the
If we see
concern I
somebody
have.
who's ingesting this stuff and they're acting strange or different, we would certainly confiscate that, and we would send it off to the state's forensic lab, and we'd have analysis done of the liquid that's inside, tell us what it come back with, presence of THC or cocaine or any of this other
Yeah.
stuff, and then we would would have things to charge these kids.
Yeah.
Is the school doing any sort of education about cigarettes or any jewels or whatever they call for the students, just to inform them about nicotine and what the unknown?
Yeah, I would say that's going to be in the health curriculum, but that's the catch-up part, where it is now, but it hasn't been. This has really caught up to us more, and again, I think that's why you have some students doing it right now. Again, when you look at how many of it's our seniors, and so I think there's a piece where, well, I'm 18, it's legal, there's you know, go in Lebanon, there's, you know, 3 or 4 stores that are there, and so, there are 5 in Lebanon, so I think you've got a piece where, okay, yeah, I'm 18 and I can do it, and I will, you know, and then they've tried that, so, yeah. So we're catching up on that, but, one of the jokes I want to make, we're looking at it, we do allow chewing gum and we don't allow e-cigarettes in the classroom. But we really formally added it to the policy this year, because I was having situations and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I know they're breaking a rule, but I don't technically have it right in there.
And Mr. Moynihan and I talked, and I think the easy answer is, you know what, it's nicotine, it's a cigarette, get rid of it, it's in there, and be done with it. And I'm not the kind of guy, I guess, to play jokes with the kids if this is what they're gonna do back and forth. It's nothing good out of this. It's nicotine. If they're under 18 and they shouldn't have it, it's just like having a cigarette.
And that's how we have treated it, and it's been successful that way.
One of the concerns that I have with that as well is when they go to buy the e-cigarettes, some of the stores that they go into, they're going into the head shops, well, we call them head shops, but where they're exposed to the synthetic marijuana that is legal. Those things are all sold in the same place. So they're going to be exposed to seeing those things rather than just buying them here at the convenience store.
As parents, if the kids are vaping or juuling or any of these type things, are there specific behaviors we should be looking for that seem to be common the day of, the day after, any of that type stuff?
On the back table there, I have, a couple parent handbooks, and so it tells you about, and there's also from the Partnership for Drug-Free New Hampshire in partnership with Breathe, that Chief was talking about. There's also a little pamphlet on vaping, and it gives some description of that, and the parent handbooks also do as well as give some talking points on like how to talk with your kids about it.
So I would say that there's probably no really behavior of the child who's ingesting the vape or the Breathe if they're, you know, if they're tired, if they're, you know, that kind of stuff that comes along with cigarettes. But I guess the concern would be is if they're actually contaminating those with THC or other drugs and stuff in them, you might notice somebody's behavior that would be impairment, kind of what I would be looking for. If you have a kid who's old enough to be vaping, and that's the kind of stuff, that's how they react.
And Chief nicotine would also speed them up a little bit, wouldn't it?
Right.
Faster.
Just, we've seen in younger ones that have been exposed to it, they get sick, kind of like lightheadedness, headaches, kind of like getting into your dad. It's not like in the olden days, they get stomach aches, they get headaches, they get dizzy, they come to the nurse's office, I don't feel good, I don't know why, you know.
Yeah.
We're like, really? Well, what's going on? And sometimes you can smell it, and these are middle schoolers,
Yeah.
so it's not just high school. See, these are young kids, and they will have symptoms of headache, lightheaded, you know, dizzy, stomach ache. So,
Yeah, one of those jewels is 200 puffs, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
A pack.
and it's a pack of cigarettes. And they go through that, especially if they're on the bus. They get that yucky belly headache. So they do experience symptoms from it.
We've been fortunate, we haven't seen, you know, again, we get the seniors self-reporting it, and we've dealt with it from some younger high schoolers. We haven't seen it with the middle schoolers. I think it's important to, in school. Just because we haven't seen it in school doesn't mean
Yeah.
it's not other places. And what we do, if we see, we use our nurse's office a lot, so, if we have any suspicions, we do blood pressure, we do the pupil dilation. Anytime we do that, we call the parents and just say, Johnny wasn't seeming well today. We had Johnny come in, here are the things that we did, here are the things that we found. And that has an impact too. Kids, they recognize at that point that people care about them and are looking at, watching things as well. So it's unusual that we would need to do that more than a couple of times, especially once we call the parents and tell them that as well. So usually
Then they're really not feeling good.
they're really not feeling good, and that's the strength of the community. When that happens, that usually will take care of things pretty quickly.
Folks have other questions, or Andrew, did you want to add anything to the
I
conversation?
just really want to say there's a lot of hope. I mean, parents are really the best defense against using substances, and really talking to your kids is the most important thing. And just keep talking. So there's, like I said, there's some really great tools on how to talk to your kids, but there's a lot of evidence to show that parents who talk with their kids about substances, their kids are less likely to use substances. And a dangerous thing is the earlier they start using substances, they're 5 times more likely to develop a substance use disorder as an adult. So it's really important to try to, as the developing brain is, to age 26, try to keep them, from using substances as long as possible. Convince them that they have multiple potential and opportunities. They want to really be the best of their potential, whatever that may be. So, let's let their brain develop. So there is hope. Just keep talking. They do listen, even if it doesn't seem like it. And there is a data point on the youth risk behavior survey about talking with their parents. And in most schools that I see, the majority say they don't talk to their parents. And I don't know if that's because they don't want to talk to their parents, or because parents aren't talking. But I think that it's really hard to talk to your teenager, but just keep trying. And if there is no perfect, as long as you just keep trying.
So I just wanted to, again, thanks for folks for coming tonight, but I guess if I was sitting in the back being a parent, if I was you being a parent, what do I do? Where do I go from here? And as I thought of that, I said the best thing I think you could do is go tell your neighbor, go tell a friend. So there's 20 people in this room that we've talked tonight. We're going to put this video up online, and video recorded it, we'll put it up online. Tell your neighbors to go watch it. Tell your neighbors, take some materials home, give it to your neighbors. Because the more we can educate people regarding what's going on in the community, the better off we're going to be as a community. The community is centerpiece is wonderful. You value education, you value what you have here. And it's because of the passion, the love that you have for your children and the people within this community, but we need to continue to nurture that, we need to continue to foster that. So it'd be great if there was 100 people here tonight, but we have the ability to touch 100 people. Put it on Facebook, put it on your Twitter, put it where you get it. Let people know the information that you have. Don't just keep it to yourselves, pass it along. And I would reiterate what Angie said, talk to your kids, start that conversation. Don't be afraid to start that conversation. Yes, it's embarrassing. Yes, it might be tough, but have that conversation, because that conversation could save you a lot of pain and anguish somewhere down the road. And I'd rather have the embarrassment now than have to deal with something much more tragic than that. So I thank Angie, I thank Chief, Sheriff, Sean, Mindy, Jackie, all for coming tonight. Thank you for coming out tonight. Again, if you have questions, people will hang out. Please take some cookies. There's water there. There's materials there. There's actually some cue cards right next to the water. We hope to continue to have these kind of events. If there's other topics that you're interested in, please write it down on the cue card and just leave it there, and we'll kind of use that as kind of where we go moving forward. But thank you very much.